What's going on, everybody? My name is Samir Azizi, and welcome to Azizi Podcast. Today, I have an exciting guest, Ruth Aliu. How are you, Ruth?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
Good morning. Ruth, both of us are on the board of CSGA, Cybersecurity Global Alliance, and that's how we've met. I met you last year at one of those rooftop parties in Toronto during one of the biggest conferences, I think. It was a tech conference, a collision, I think. And we had a great chat, and I was, very excited to learn that we are on the same board later I guess that month. But I'd like to talk to you about your professional journey, about your background, because cybersecurity is such an important thing right now, especially in the age of AI and crypto. But I'll start from the beginning. First of all, how are you?
I'm doing well. Spring is springing, so I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah. Before we started this podcast, I kind of briefly asked you, because I thought you're based in Ottawa, right? And I was just kind of like wondering about your experience, what it's like to live in. I've never been like the only city I've been to is like Toronto and Montreal. So if you don't, if you don't mind, as an immigrant to another immigrant, share me your story of being in Ottawa.
I would say that as an immigrant, like Ottawa, it was not my first landing point. I've been around a bit. So when I first landed in Canada, I landed in Montreal. And then
Okay.
because I schooled there, came as a student, landed there, did my education, and I was just like, I don't think I'll ever learn this French of a thing. And it appears that I will not quite be able to advance in my career like I would like in Quebec. So I moved from Montreal to Toronto, stayed in Toronto for a bit. And as I continued to build up my life and start a family, I saw that okay, Toronto may not be the place for me. And then I moved to Ottawa, and I've been in Ottawa since. Let's see
You,
what and all has been great so far. I feel like for me, I find it family centric, but it's also like a government town as well. So where a lot of people work for the government. But I feel like its hidden gem is that it has like a tech park. It's the Canada North area, which is like a technology park. A lot of tech organizations are there. There are a lot of tech events that, like, if you know, compared to Toronto, where it's more announced and more mainstream. So I would say so far so good.
Yeah, I did notice some events in Ottawa, the tech events, and I was curious about those. But yeah, we have to like take a drive there and see what's up with that town because as you said, like you mentioned, like Toronto's giving you a headache, and sometimes it's the same for me. It's like Toronto sometimes is too much. But not only because it's so busy, but also because like the prices are skyrocketing, the real estate is going nuts, and you're trying to like, so all of a sudden you're scrambling, you're thinking like, okay, what should I do? What should I do? But you mentioned tech, like, were you always planning to be in the tech industry?
No, not at all.
How did you end up in tech? I mean, you're right now specializing in cybersecurity, and I was just wondering how did you get to that?
Absolutely. I grew up wanting to be like a lawyer like my father because that was what I saw. My mom worked in the civil service, my dad is a lawyer. And I said, oh, I wanted to be a lawyer like him, signed up for like the art courses. And I think he found out that I was doing that. And he wrote a letter to my school and said, if you do not withdraw her from there immediately and let her like start studying science courses, because for him, he didn't have the exposure to have like a wide breadth of knowledge across the arts, the sciences. And I
Hmm.
thought, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go do what he's saying. He probably knows something I don't know. And then, like, when it was time to go into university, all my courses were all science. So, like, I didn't have a place to pivot back to law from. And I looked at all of my options and I said, okay, you know what? I like computers. I'm curious by them. Let me sign up for something computer related. I promise you that's how I got into tech. And then I did my bachelor's in information technology. And after, yeah, and that's all I know. I wish I was one of those people that did something else and discovered tech and fell in love. Like that was my foundation, and I've been in it ever since.
But do you feel like that was like a good foundation? Like,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
feel like in during that time, I was like, how dare you? But now it's like I cannot imagine being anything anywhere else. Yeah.
It's funny, like we share that, strict father situation too. Like when I was in college, I was studying accounting. And it was very tough for me. Accounting, mostly like it was economics and accounting. Accounting was relatively okay, but economics like was a little bit too much for me. It was too abstract. And I was failing those classes. And I was calling, and my dad was paying for my school. And so I was calling my dad. I was like, I can't do this. Like I'm gonna switch majors. I'm gonna like go to like communication studies or sociology. And he got so mad. He's like, if you're gonna do this, you like I'm not paying for that. You might as well just go home. Like So he like gave me that ultimatum that I have to do like the economics and accounting degree. And but to be honest with you, it was similar to you. Like it was a tough for me, for example, with this whole, getting the bachelor's in accounting and all of that. But in reality, it gave me such a great foundation in my profession in the beginning of my professional career, that it's still kind of like I'm still reaping the how do you say, like the fruits from that labor, basically, just because I was doing accounting and just management and all of that. So it's good, even though not right now I switched to like marketing. So you got your bachelor's in IT, and then what happened? Like what was it like for you, like to be in Canada with a bachelor's degree in IT, and like did you already know what you want to do?
Oh, that's interesting because unlike most people, I came to Canada like for my master. So I did my bachelor's in IT,
Oh, okay, master's. Okay.
my home country, Nigeria.
Uh,
After I was done with that, I kind of decided I wasn't quite sure like what part of IT I wanted to land in. But so all of us, we all start from tech support. It's like, okay, if you don't know anything, at least IT support gives you a wide range of things you're solving and fixing, and you're getting a sense, oh, this is what I like. I really like working on things like this. And
mhm.
I applied for my master's and I was like, oh, what do I want to do my master's? And my dad is like, figure out what you want to do for your master's, but you're getting a second degree.
Oh my God, same, same. He was like, "You're getting masters. I don't care."
Yeah, it's like I don't know why you think this bachelor's is it. You are going to go for a master's. And in some part of my mom's mind, I think she has a PhD in mind for me. But
Yeah.
um, I think I've had it up to here with with that thing. So I went ahead. I was like, oh, okay, master's. Okay, I'm already in IT. I feel like master should be a specialization. And information system security just struck me. I'm like, I don't know anyone in my home country that is doing this field.
Hmm.
There were options of like software engineering, engineering. I'm like, that doesn't quite fit into like where I'm coming from, but like information system security appears appealing and something that I'm excited by. I looked at the course outline. I'm like, okay, I'm not mad at this, but I had no idea what I was throwing myself into in 2012 or 2011 when I was looking into this. Cybersecurity and IT security was nothing like
Yeah.
it was today. And so nothing prepared me for like how years later it will be the gift that keeps on giving. So went ahead, applied to Concordia. Concordia was the only school that was offering a master's in information system security. Applied, moved to Canada, and that's how I was been in cybersecurity since then.
Now, what was it like though to study information security? Because I heard about I heard about it a lot, like around also like 2016, I would say something like that. It all of a sudden became like a thing that went mainstream. But for you, like, what was it like to study information security? Like, were there like good use cases, or was it also like an abstract information? Like, for example, you go to masters for that stuff, but then like, do you know like who is hiring for this? Like, what kind of jobs you get from this, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I would say that because I schooled in Montreal, there was not a wide pick of companies that were hiring for people that spoke only English. So going into our program, we all of us had like were like I want to get into maybe this maybe like five companies had cybersecurity related roles that we probably saw ourselves as candidates for. But I'll say studying it, the professors that I had were people that were working on it like in real life. So they were not just people that were studying and researching. So I remember my cybercrime professor was actually an RCMP person. Like he worked in RCMP in cybercrime. And so he was bringing all of that real life hands-on experience into his curriculum. I had another professor, Professor Benjamin Fong, same thing. Like he was researchers in a bunch of places, but also had that real life experience and feedback that he was incorporated into the courses. I know there was a course I had about learning the R language and NLP and how that like cybersecurity. So I found that a lot of the courses, maybe there were a few that are a bit abstract, but I would say the most of them, the professors had experience that they were really putting into their content. But it still did not prepare me for like the career, but it helped. It wasn't all abstract. It wasn't
I,
all that.
I like that grad schools are, they have professors that are kind of like no BS type people. Like, I come from the industry. Like, here's like the real case studies for you. Like, I always loved that. Like, for my like MBA school, like it was cool, like to see like those CEOs coming in there and like teaching you like real stuff. But what was the hardest part about this whole thing? Like you came to a new country, you had to kind of like adjust, and on top of that, Nigeria doesn't speak French, right? It's yeah.
Oh,
So it's like you have to like, and the schooling was in French or in English.
it was in English. Concordia, the two English universities are Concordia and McGill. Concordia was English.
So you're like studying in English, life is in French, and it's like all new for you. Like, was that like, did you feel lonely? Did you come by yourself or with family? Like, what was it like for you?
Oh, I came alone. I came alone. No one flew with me. No one came until like maybe 2 years later, and that was for my graduation.
Yeah.
And so I would say I wasn't sure what to make of it, right? Because I started in the winter. I came in the winter. So everything was coming at me all at once. Everything was coming at me all at once. I remember going into the international students office and they saw me and are like, you're gonna get sick with what you're wearing. Here are the places to go shop for this type of jackets or boots. Here is where you can get this. And they're just like, okay, let us know if you need anything. So the international students office were helpful. You could go there and say, hey, I'm not sure what bank. They say, okay, here are your list of options. So from that week, I got a level of support. And then over time, I started building a community. So maybe fellow Nigerians like myself that were either taking the course or were attending Concordia around that time, over time became a community. It wasn't like I wasn't making friends that were outside of my nationality, but I gradually started building that ecosystem. I'm still in contact with them till this day. So I would say even for English and French, where I was staying in Montreal was very French speaking like 30 minutes by train to downtown because my campus was downtown. And I would say hi because they're bilingual. So they
Right.
understand both languages, but they will insist on French. And I get it. I do.
Mhm.
But for me coming from Nigeria, I'm like, what? But over time, I picked up like the little things that got me by, the little words that got me by. And then I moved downtown in the maybe I think 6 months into my studies. And downtown was very bilingual. So I could really pass through my program
Yeah.
speaking English most of the time. But Concordia offered us the option of taking like French speaking classes, French conversation classes. My first job in Montreal also offered that. So I feel like I improved a tiny bit. So that
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough, but I gotta say, Montreal is a beautiful city. Like, I love it, especially during summer. I mean, it's winter. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough during winter, but during summer, oh my God, it's like you going to Europe or something. Do you go there back? Do you go back often?
Not funny enough, not so much, even though it's like 2 hours drive from Ottawa, not so much, but every time I go there, it feels so nostalgic. So I go to like my old stomping ground, so to speak, like where I used to eat, like near the school, like the Chinese, the Chinese markets, like all of the places that really gave me joy. I usually target those. And if I'm going with someone, we'll get like the Montreal passport that takes you like to all of the attractions for like
Oh yeah.
price. And so I always look forward to going to like the old port and stuff like that. So it feels like home because that was what my first experience was in Canada.
I 100% can relate to that. So let's get back to your professional, I guess, journey. Once you graduated from Concordia, like what was your first job after that? Was it related to information security? Was it like something more broad?
I would say that I was fortunate in the sense that I got my first job in my last semester.
Oh wow, okay.
So I was doing my last semester and I started my first job because it was the summer, so it was allowed to do that, right? Because
Hmm.
in the summer you can work full time,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
and work that. So it all worked out that July was when they gave me the offer letter for. And so once
Hmm.
I'm done with my studies, I just transitioned to like a postgraduate work permit and continued working with the organization. It was English.
Nice.
They didn't need me to speak French. It was in IT support though, just like what I
Ah, I
did,
see.
what I did. But they offered like email security software.
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere I was able to bring some of my little experience from my education into supporting clients with deployments, with troubleshooting, with configuration. So yeah, that was my first That was my first job straight out of school.
First jobs are always random. Like my first job after school was like selling payroll services. And it was like payroll, so it's kind of accounting, but at the same time I just had to go door to door to different businesses and like sell them like, "Hey, would you like payroll services?" And I barely knew what does it even mean.
That worked out. How did that work out?
I made one sale and then they got rid of me. Like I was like, okay, I was getting paid I think nothing, and then they took pity on me and they gave me $10 per hour. And then it was like a part-time thing, and then I was working for another job, trying to collect payments for a ISO 9000 certifications from different businesses. That was also $10 per hour. So like, and I was so happy about that. I thought it was so much money. Like I was like walking around and like, whoa, like I'm making $2,000. But that was like my first experience, but it definitely like kept me going. Like I felt really cool about it that I have a job and and then I like switched to other things. I became like a bookkeeper somewhere else. But it's like it's slowly, gradually going there. But it's definitely good times. Um, so I guess like for me, question right now to you, like if we will fast forward to today, what's your general outlook on the information security and cybersecurity? What is your day-to-day looks like for any sort of projects that you're working on in that regards, especially when it comes to like we're living in a crazy time with artificial intelligence, deep fakes, and like just ethical hacking and all of that. Like, how do you like what are the key points that you're always kind of like, okay, like this needs to be done when I start something like working with a client or a project of something?
That's a loaded question
Yeah,
because
it's a very broad one, and I guess like just to narrow it down is just like, can you just give me some pointers on like what are the main things you look at when it comes to cybersecurity at your professional career right now?
absolutely. I would say that with cybersecurity, cybersecurity is also incredibly broad. And it took me a bit as well to find like the parts of it that were like my superpower. And but I would say that at a higher level, whether I'm working at a 9 to 5 or working with my clients in my on my business, it's striking that balance between usability, security, and privacy. Because I find that with cybersecurity, it's like sometimes using a sledgehammer to kill an ant. But
Hmm.
how do we make that balance of making it usable while having the necessary security controls that can allow the person still work and not inhibit, innovation, day-to-day work, things like that. I find that it's always striking that balance to say, okay, if you're not comfortable with using this type of password manager, how about we start here so that you have some level of cyber hygiene and cyber security. Even though for me, what is at the back of my mind is no, you must use this one. But I'm trying to make the user where they are at, what they feel comfortable with, what is something that they will continually do and not feel like it's a chore, but them also understanding the why of it. Because I feel like everybody talks about, oh my God, cybersecurity is so key. You must install antivirus everywhere. And it's like gospel, but there's not a lot of education. People are not patient enough to educate people to say why, to say, here is why we are recommending this, and here is how you can start. If this feels too much, start from here. If you feel comfortable with it, we can expand what that looks like while still having compensating and mitigating controls on the back end of things, on the administrative side of things. I would say that with AI coming in, of course, everybody just has so many thoughts about AI, but I feel like it's the deep fakes and not being sure of what is real and what is not real, and the cybersecurity community like just rushing to figure out how we can adapt these things that have been gospel for so long, from a guideline, from a NIST standard framework, for all of the frameworks that have been the foundation. We're seeing like all of these bodies now adapting the framework to accommodate artificial intelligence. So how do we do cybersecurity with AI? How do we go about implementing? What are the factors that people should consider in deploying AI systems? There's one of the Canada agencies, I can't remember which one it is. They have an acronym called FASTER,
Hmm.
um, to guide organizations in how to think about um, leveraging AI securely. So is it fair? Is the system fair? Is there some form of accountability? What is the security underlying component in it? Is it transparent? Is it educative, and I can't remember what the R is. If I can
Mm.
find the link, I'll throw that to you. So gradually, I'm not saying that we are quite there, but we're seeing that, especially for Canada, there's a lot of investment into figuring out what that is and, collaborating with cybersecurity professionals and organizations to be able to do AI and do all of the innovation and the progressive things while ensuring that the necessary safeguards and principles and underlying security measures and baselines are, we don't lose that. So those are a few thoughts I have.
Oh yeah, I mean that's it's really extensive and while I was listening to you, I was wondering like I was thinking like, well, cybersecurity is such a broad word and there's different levels to it, and I was wondering what's your take on that. So, you know, like I think about different type of businesses. There's like a medium to large size businesses, and they are like usually kind of look sophisticated because maybe they will have the entire IT department, and their job is to do this whole thing. Like, okay, what are the precautions? What are the software we're installing and all of that? Or they're just hiring a third party consultancy and they're just like giving them all the features like okay this is but then there's like a smaller businesses like for example small marketing agency that has like relatively medium or large clients and they store their data or something like that or some other things even like more like construction companies or something like that that is more like mom and pop shop and I feel like those type of smaller businesses, they just like don't have time to like thinking like, okay, maybe we should hire an IT person to be our cybersecurity, or we should do like the whole research on like what should we do? Like they just want to get money so that they can like support themselves. Um, and hence my question to you, like, what is cybersecurity, right? Because in a nutshell, like it can be like a very sophisticated freaking cryptographic blah 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 like somewhere like in the higher echelons of like corporate structure like there's something or like can it be something more simple can we like demystify this a little bit and maybe there's like simple steps that you can at least know that you're secure in the cyber world and in that sense in the case of a small business how would you go about recommending certain things to a small business to be more secure.
Maybe your questions are broad and extensive, and I love it, right? Because I can pick and take them in chunks. So I'll start with what you talk when we talk about cybersecurity. I just think about protecting yourself, the person, yourself and your systems from the risk of being compromised. At a very, it sounds very simple, but no matter the size of the business, whether it's small, medium, or enterprise, the goal is to ensure that people are able to safely work. The systems that are hosting confidential information are secured in a way that they are not compromised and data is not leaked. There's no data leak and all of that. But I know that the official definition is probably a lot more. But I would say that and you're right, when we talk about small and medium-sized businesses, that's not a priority for them. Like they know that they're supposed to think about it, but every day that they wake up, they think about revenue. Every day they're thinking about the bottom line. What is my target here? How do I make money? So when I'm coming as a professional to say, hey, you are not doing this, I went to your website, it doesn't have a valid certificate, they don't know what that means. Like, what is the impact of that? Can people access my website? And then I tie how I go about it. And I think how most people that work with SMEs go about it is tying that to a reputation thing because every business is worried about their reputation.
Right.
Because what's the point of making money if you have a bad reputation? So I would think about it from a reputation perspective, how can we implement a good cyber hygiene for your organization? So, okay, if I come on your website, am I seeing the error from Google or from anyone saying that you don't have a valid certificate and they're warning me to leave your site? That is not a good look for anyone that is stumbling on your business. Right. And so I come from a point of view that, hey, I know it's not a priority for you, but you want people to be able to come on your website and feel safe.
Hmm.
That, okay, I'm entering my credit card information here, or I'm entering my contact information here. The people that have created this website are handling this correctly, or it's
It's
connected
like certificating like in the browser, right? That they show
the
like
certificate in the
red
browser
flag.
because before now, like the browsers will load it fine without a certificate, but now everybody's all on board. You don't have a valid certificate. There's the warning. Tell everybody that you don't have one.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, right. And that is embarrassing. And so I start at that level. But for a lot of them that use a lot of online software as well, like, okay, maybe they use QuickBooks Online or any other software, they are not buying like commercial off the shelf software for their businesses, irrespective of where they fall. It's like, okay, if somebody got a hold, was able to access this software or this tool or this laptop you use for business, are you screwed?
Hmm.
If you are screwed, how can we make that difficult? How can we reduce the risk of exposure or compromise if in the event of an attack by hackers? Because there's a lot of statistics across Statistics Canada, Mastercard Foundation, so many statistics that say that CIRA, Canada Internet Registration Authority, would say that over 50% of the people that get compromised are small and medium-sized businesses. For the same reason you talked about, they do not have the time. They don't make that a priority because for them, how does it impact my bottom line? And so it's connecting that to what they, number one, what they are passionate about and what their goals are for their businesses. So I would always tie it to, okay, if we do this, this eventually helps, build, increase your brand reputation. People trust you more. For instance, they come to a page for payment, it's secure. All of the elements, there's no red flags when people are engaging with your business, either online or offline. How are you storing the data? You're getting people's information, depending on the kind of information you're collecting from them. How are you storing that? Because you're liable for collecting that information. You've told them that, oh, by clicking on accept cookies or whatever, they've given off their rights, blah, 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 whatever those policies are. But then the onus is on the business owner to ensure that the data they're capturing is secure, or the proprietary information for their businesses, the intellectual property for their businesses. I can't just pick up a laptop from a Starbucks coffee shop and have access to that information. So how are you classifying your data? How are you storing your data across based on the, not severity, based on the sensitivity of the data? So I think I've mentioned quite a number of use cases because I work with small and medium-sized businesses, and
Hmm.
every time the news is talking about one hack or the other, like they're very anxious about it and not quite sure, like, okay, I hear of all these things, but what does this mean? So it's the education base. It is about connecting it to their business values and their bottom line. That is how I personally go about it. Maybe there's some better structured
Yeah.
way, it's really meeting them where they are and covering the bases on different fronts.
It's funny, you mentioned the coffee shop and all, and I remember working for a cryptocurrency exchange company, and they gave me a laptop, and they installed a bunch of software on that, and they told me not under all circumstances do not go to any sort of coffee shop and open that laptop and connect to Wi-Fi. Like you have to like we have registered you under your IP in your home office, and this is where you're gonna be working and all of that. And I'm not sure if they this is just for them to keep me in one place or it's like really that much of a security threat, which I believe it is. You know, if you're joining to like random ass Wi-Fi's, like it's just like,
Have no
uh,
idea what's going on. You don't know
yeah.
who's sitting on that network. You know nothing. But I feel like a lot of with COVID, a lot of organizations now have implemented VPN, have installed VPN software for their employees, and
Hmm.
even small and medium-sized businesses are gradually getting, are seeing the need for that. So, for instance, if they're at home, that's fine. But they go to a coffee shop, they turn on their VPN, so
Hmm.
then go ahead and doing like sensitive transactions or any type of thing securely. Like I said, with VPN is, they still have to do their research or talk to a trusted person to do that research to get, to choose the best fit for them.
For people who don't know necessarily what VPN does and like just general broad terms, could you explain a little bit like what exactly VPN what purpose does the VPN serves? Because my point is like I know VPN from back in the day. You use VPN to make pretend that you're like in England so that you can watch Netflix
Oh,
English version. That's type of thing.
you know what? Yeah, I can see why people will think that, right? And so the purpose of VPN, VPN standing for virtual private network. The purpose of VPN is to encrypt the traffic, the web traffic between your computer and the remote server that you're browsing on, say maybe google.com, where if somebody is sniffing on an open Wi-Fi network, that communication and that server client communication is encrypted. And so no one is, for instance, you're logging into your bank application. If it is an open connection, chances that someone is able to intercept that in some way and get a hold of that information is higher. But with a VPN, it's encrypted and it's all scrambled. So except the person has like expansive tools to be able to do that, with a VPN, they will not be able to do that. So it's a secured connection to be able to browse safely. And yeah.
Very cool. You mentioned there's a 50% statistics, like the 50% of the businesses, they're like not, I guess, there's not up to standards for like basic cybersecurity. And honestly, I thought it's even more than that.
Oh no, it is. I had to say 50 because I'm like, I don't want to quote the wrong number. Over 50% for sure.
And so I guess like for small businesses, like if you had to like, let's say you're talking to like a new connection on the phone or something, and they have a small business, and you kind of like, hey, just by the way, make sure you like do this and that, just a precaution. I'm from the industry, I'm just letting you know. But like, what would be those simple things I would say for business owners to like, and I'm again like I'm not talking like hire a consultancy to figure, but like some simple things like that no one is actually doing. Is there anything like that that people can quickly like switch in their routine and their work
I would say,
practice?
yeah, I would say that if I think about small and medium-sized businesses, one of the main culprits for them getting compromised is phishing emails.
Right, right.
It's a cybersecurity awareness of, because phishing has become is getting more sophisticated by the day that even myself as a professional, depending on the day, if I'm not looking carefully,
So
I
for my audience, what's a phishing email? Like, what does it mean?
you've made this thing a lecture, right? Because I mentioned things, you're like, nope, let's talk about phishing. And so phishing is a type of cyber attack where a malicious person, for instance, let me use Costco. So you get an email, there's an official Costco email. Maybe Costco sends email from a particular type of email. And phishing email packages like Costco does, puts the sender name as Costco, but the objective of that is to get you to click on a button to direct you to something, to be able to extract your information or to compromise the machine you're browsing on. And so it's a type of cyber attack that is getting you to do something under the guise of you engaging with a legitimate email. So
Mm,
I send a message from Ruth at my email, but if somebody as is pretending to be me. But the way phishing manifests is that always check your sender email. Does
right.
it, is the domain right? Does that email follow like a format in some way? If you look up that email for that organization, is it an approved sender? Because for some organizations, or rather larger organizations rather, they're doing that, say, hey, here's our approved senders list. If you didn't get this from me, if this is not the email you got, then this is not from us. So a phishing is a type of cyber attack that's getting you to engage and click on something or download something or log into something that is not the real deal.
It's funny because I had those phishing emails back when I was like at the office job as an accountant, and it would be like from the CEO of the company, and it would be like, "Hey, how's it going? I don't have much time right now, but we apparently we forgot to pay this company. Can you quickly send the payment to them? This is the wire information." And like for I was like, oh wow, that's his email. Like that's because the email still looks like his. That's his name and the signature, and he's reaching out to me personally. So that's like a serious thing. Like it's important because the CEO reached out to me. Like I gotta like just do it quickly because like I'll get in trouble. Like, all those things going through my mind, and then like it kind of like settles. Like, oh, hold on a second, something isn't right here.
Okay. Why is he reaching out to me for this?
Yeah, yeah, because I was like a like entry level accountant, right? So it's like, but like, okay, so precautions is like, first of all, just like think logically, I guess, like why would something happen like this? But second, like, check the email, make sure that the address is correct, and just like for me personally, if I don't see like I'm being mentioned by name, for example, or sometimes you can, but like sometimes you're not. It's just like hi, comma, and there's like what do you mean hi? Like no one says like this. You have to at least say hi, hey, hi, Samir or something. Uh, like red flag, like right away.
Red flag. And I would say that, cybersecurity awareness for themselves, for the owners and their employers, so employees rather, to be able to say, okay, here is what is going on here. Here is what to look out for. And not in a way that is intimidating, because I feel like most enterprise organizations have done phishing simulations that have been problematic. where
Hmm.
they have done phishing simulations on payroll, on like very sensitive things. And people have fallen for it because maybe it's tax season, right? And you're sending like, oh, a message from the CRA. Doing
Right,
people expect that, and so people fall for that. So it's about people knowing, okay, what are the phishing campaigns or scams around very, different times in the year, and how to look out for that. Say holiday scams, for example, and
right.
to taking an extra look before engaging with that.
And
Yes.
a phishing simulation is basically when an IT department just kind of tests employees without letting them know, like tries to scam them internally.
Yes.
Do they
Yes.
get in trouble if they fail? Like, do they get fired? Like, what do you...
No, 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 no. So I think for the organizations I've worked with, I've never really been on the security awareness side. I've been the recipient of simulations, and there was one I fell for, and they're like, no, 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 it's okay, breathe, right? And here is what, here is how to here's what to learn for next time.
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
of them would collate the results, and for like the group of people, they just have like a lunch and learn webinar to say, hey, just a reminder, this and this. But some of them are, yeah, I think different organizations have handled it differently, but I think the objective is to get people up to date, like with the latest type of campaigns that are out there. And so I always do it because I don't want to feel like, oh my God, I can never fall for it. I don't really.
Yeah, it's you never know. You're just a human being, right? You can always get like someone can like pinch a nerve or something, mention something, all of a sudden you forget everything, and you're like, oh wow, okay. Um, what about like, do you feel like we still have a problem with people having a password that is password 123? Like that's kind of like they're setting it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It continues because for them it is convenient.
Right.
I'm like, okay, it is convenient, but
And
is
then
it?
you put your password on a sticky note and connect it to your computer.
Yeah, I get the convenience of it, but I say, is it convenient to lose everything you've worked for if you continue this way?
Yeah.
It's convenient to look. So a lot of people continue to do that. So with those kind of people, I start with where they are to say, can we have a variation of password 123 for different accounts? That is the start, right? And if they're open to it, a password manager at some point. But
Hmm.
variation say, okay, for your Amazon, it's maybe you have an at instead of an A. For your email, we have a four instead of a three. And
Yeah.
and over time, just giving them the syntax to be able to say, as long as you have a special character or even a passphrase, because NIST has kind of updated things a bit where it's like passphrases, and passphrase is using a phrase instead of password.
Mm.
Complex. So, oh, this is Roots Amazon as a passphrase in the space. Those spaces also introduce some complexity, right? So for some people, I'm saying, you know what? If passwords and remembering them, how about you try passphrases that give you a clue as to what that is? So like I said, depending on the person I'm working with, that if they're good with complex passwords and are not open to a password manager, I'm like, hey, a password manager will help you generate it and save it and autofill it for you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are also uncomfortable with password managers because they're saying it's online. What if I lose access to it? I'm like, okay, but there are options that allow you to store it, like install the password manager only on your device. It's not leaving. The password database is on your device. You just have to ensure that where that database is secure, so that it's also not compromised as well. Like, do you have a password going into your laptop? Do you have is that the part where your database is it on your desktops, or is it like hidden like in a nested folder in some way? So
That, you're probably annoyed that I'm asking you those simple questions about passwords, but my belief is that we're still so like uneducated, like the general population, on like what the way to do it, just because we're lazy. Like sometimes guilty of the same thing, like the passwords and all of that, like using the same password for different websites. Like it's just like stupid, but I still do it sometimes. And I was like, oh my God, this is like um, but yeah, like so I don't know, like I feel like we have to talk about, you know what I mean? Just because it has to be said. And I was telling James, who is the co-founder of CSGA, is like if we're gonna start a podcast, I don't want to do some crazy cybersecurity talk about like international warfare. I just want to see like educate people on like how to like install like a good antivirus or how to have like a backup system, like just simple things like people need to learn. So that's why I'm just talking about this.
yeah, because we really assume as cybersecurity professionals that it's too simple to cover. It's too simple to cover. And a lot of people, that's the bane of their existence. It's like, I cannot figure a way. Everybody tells me to do this thing, but like, it is overwhelming to engage with it. So just going back to all you want, talking about passwords, I would say that for the thing about using, let's talk about why it's bad to use the same password. How about that? Because I feel like people say, don't use the same password. Why? If there has been a ton of data breaches, online tools, online websites will do their best to secure their systems. But a time will come where they get compromised for maybe outdated software, whatever the case will be. We've seen a lot of that in the past couple of years. If you use the same password every day and that database is breached, they have access to the database of usernames and passwords. If they're able to extract that your password from that database, they can try logging onto any other type of accounts using the email that is your username and compromise other accounts because it was the same password that you had everywhere. So
Right.
having separate passwords reduces the risk of compromise across your multiple systems or your multiple accounts or your multiple IDs. That is why using the same password is frowned upon.
Yeah, I remember like Google Chrome has this thing like, oh, do an audit of your passwords because they stored it all. And then like they show like because there's a lot of data breaches that is public now, and they can show which passwords are actually being compromised and already available to like in the ether, like on the internet, people can look it up. And that was what kind of scary, like back in like 2000, I think 19 that happened, and they did the whole audit, and it's like, oh, here's all your passwords that are already like out there. And I was like, wow, like that's not, I thought I'm dealing with serious companies here. I'm like giving them my information and they're just like, and that just shows you like no one is secured from the data breach. No matter like Equifax, I think that was like a huge hack.
Facts to so many of them. LinkedIn had one, and
Wow.
I remember when and there's this website, and you're right. Like different organizations are kind of doing the password check now. So Google Chrome, like you said, does that. The new password manager and Apple also does that. So you're creating something. I think it's the Apple password manager. It would say that you've used this password before for another,
Hmm.
change it to something else. So I'm seeing that the most password managers are now hooked to like databases like have I been owned.com. So have I been owned is have I been pwned.com. So you either put in your email or something, and they would give you a list of possible places that your data might have been compromised in and recommend that you go there and change your password as a security measure. So
Yeah,
that
it's useful to do like to everyone. Um, Especially to like I need to like call my mom about this too. I'm like, hey, like make sure like don't be silly about the passwords and all that. And to my dad as well. But that's what who I'm thinking about all the time, you know, like okay, like we yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I want to chat about your day to day right now because I know that you're a founder of a consulting company and it's cybersecurity related. And I just wanted to see like what are you focusing on right now? Like what type of clients do you have? And like as far as specialty goes, like what takes most of your time? So let's start with that. I guess what's your day to day look like?
So I run an IT consulting firm called Techity Consulting, and when I started, I know I'm giving an origin story. It was I wanted to go and just throw in and give cybersecurity services, but I found that I had to listen to what business owners needed. And so Technical Consulting is focused. It's not that we don't offer cybersecurity services, but we integrate cybersecurity services into our offerings to our clients. So we're helping coaches, consultants, service providers to implement and set up the systems they need to level up their businesses. So if there are manual processes that kind of need to be automated so that they can save time so they can focus on what they do best, we help them set that up, those systems, set up those automations, set up those workflows, and so that they can go on vacation without guilt. So they say, if I want to go for a 1 week vacation, it's like, oh, what if people email me? If we set up a workflow for that, saying if somebody makes an inquiry about this, what does an auto response look like for that context? Or if somebody signs up on your website saying, I'm interested in a sales call, how can we set up those systems so that you're not worried about manually going to vet and verify things? So depending on the business context, our job is to empower them and with the technology, systems, software that they need to make more money for while they continue to focus on what they do best. So I'll say a day in the life for me is either of course, trying to, get new leads and new clients and really showing the value of systems in their businesses. And unlike a lot of IT consulting companies are very big at throwing recommendations that will say, okay, in your industry, this is what everybody uses. But at tech consulting, I am big on what are your needs? What, how are you tech wise? Like the usability, going back to what I said the balance between usability, security, and privacy, saying, okay, yes, this is what I would recommend, but based on the way your day-to-day is, your business workflows is, I would recommend this instead. When you feel like you've outgrown this tool or outgrown this workflow or outgrown this software, then we can expand to this. So it's always that catch-22 of creating custom solutions for business owners that fits into their businesses, that is not overwhelming, because a lot of small businesses are overwhelmed with tech. Now it feels like if you don't have some form of tech in your business, then you are not a successful business. And they're overwhelmed with making those choices, maintaining those choices when they are deployed. So it's like, hey, let me take away that headache from you. And you focus on like the things you know how to do best, baking those nice cookies, doing your speaking engagements, and we're ensuring that your website, your business email is set up right. For example, you have your SPF or your records that ensure that your emails are not going to spam. The bane of a lot of businesses' existence and they cannot figure out why. And so we come and say, okay, what do your records look like? What is your domain reputation looking like? How can we fix that on the back end? Are you on any blacklists? So I'll say that is what a day in the life of myself looks like. And so for a lot of them, I worked with a client yesterday. It's like, oh, I'm seeing something weird on my phone. This is going on. Then cybersecurity comes in and say, okay, how about going forward, we do this and do that. So I integrate cybersecurity in, okay, what those offerings are and how those systems are set up and implemented.
It's funny, you did mention yesterday that my email that I emailed you went to spam, and I was like, dang it, like, because I usually also like tell that to people, but I was like, I'm using my very old email that I've been using for like my personal life for a while with that one. And now I'm like, what's happening? So I was like trying to test it out and all of that. So now I have to figure this out. Maybe I'll use your help on that one.
But I think it was first, it was an at gmail.com.
It was a Gmail invite with a calendar
It
and
was an
link.
email invite. I'm sure maybe my organization email policies are also strict. I probably have to also check it out and say, because it's checking, this person has never emailed you before.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, just random ass email, you know?
who knows? Who knows? So I'm glad you reached out to me because then I would never have seen it.
Yeah, that's what I like to do because I sometimes talk to my like vendors and I tell them to invoice me because I like to like just get rid of the pay, like make all my payments right away. And I like, did you send the invoice? Did you send the invoice? And it's like, yes, I did. And I'm like, okay, let's see. And spam 2 weeks ago there was an invoice. I'm like, dang it. But that's why I always like to confirm like, okay, this email has been sent. Please confirm that you received it just so that we can like settle it right away. So I'm glad we figured it out. Speaking of overwhelming all the clients and all of that, or like being overwhelmed, what do you see your take about AI right now? And I mean, it's a crazy thing that's happening and it's everywhere. And for you as a person in tech, like, do you brace yourself for that? Do you prepare for that? Do you tell anything your clients about that? What do you tell them if you do?
So with AI, I think that every business is trying to we're trying to fit ourselves in that bucket from a service provider, and I've refused to put myself in that bucket. However, I I can bring our cybersecurity expertise into AI about how they can use AI securely. So for example, what kind of data are you feeding? Are you putting client sensitive information into ChatGPT to analyze?
Right, rookie mistake.
But they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
One.
yeah.
So it's about that education and as AI, call it like an AI security audit, saying, okay, where do you have, what kind of AI tools are you using? How do you have that set up?
Hmm.
What are you feeding it? Are you uploading information that is classified as unclassified? There's no sensitive information there. Are you uploading like a client sensitive information like, oh, here are the sales we made for this month and here are the numbers, and you're using AI to chatgpt.com. There are AI solutions that are private that you can install, like you can set up locally to do that. But for small business owners, like that is complex. And so
Right.
the AI conversations I'm having is about how to trust but verify, how to
Hmm.
trust but verify, verifying your references. You don't just take things as gospel there. Trust, and the thing is that all of them now have it as a small line under. Sometimes you may give inaccurate answers. So they've all put their disclaimers at the bottom, so you can't come blaming them. Do you have two-step verification or two-factor authentication on this account? Do you
Hmm.
assume that, oh, okay, ChatGPT, I don't need to? The same thing applies because if you
Ooh.
created your ChatGPT with the same password, and in
Hmm.
ChatGPT you are chatting about, hey, what is the marketing strategy for this? Or
Hmm.
how do I, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing for the business. How do I do my intellectual property or patent to look like this? And somebody has access to it. We're still back to the same thing we talked about earlier in the conversation. So it's like I think it's about taking them back to the basics, but I love that AI has empowered small businesses because for a lot of them, they felt like, oh my God, I don't know this thing. I don't know where to start. And so most time, by the time they've come to me, they've done ChatGPT and said, I tried it. I didn't understand the instructions, or it wasn't quite clear how I should go about it, or I didn't want to break anything.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel threatened by it, but I feel like it has empowered a lot of small businesses, especially in terms of marketing and content. Like content is just a struggle most times because like I don't have time for this. And so ChatGPT and Claude or whatever their tool of choice is helping them to churn out content. Can create a content calendar for me, or how can I go about doing this sales pitch for this type of audience? It has really lowered the barrier for entry and access for a lot of small businesses, in my opinion, and I love it for them.
I mean, I love that you said that about the two-factor authentication, even for ChatGPT, because I honestly like I felt like that's such a cool like that's such a thing that is like not obvious, but at the same time it has to be there. Because as you said it, I realized that I've been using ChatGPT for the past 2 or 3 years, and I've shared all kinds of things with this thing. I shared my feelings with ChatGPT. I would say like, "Hey, I'm not feeling well right now. Here's why. Here's like my frustrations," because I'm using it like a psychologist sometimes. And I don't want this information to be disclosed. Like, it's okay, OpenAI, you can have it, whatever, I don't care. But like, I don't want someone to steal that information. So having a two-factor authentication is actually very important for that. Um, Ruth, we're coming to the conclusion of our podcast. It was an amazing, amazing conversation, and I was wanted to see like, is there anything that you'd like to add to our conversation? Perhaps, how can people reach out to you and find your organization?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Number one, thank you for having me. Number two, my business can be found at techityconsult.ca. We are across all social media at Techity Consult or Techity Consulting, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X. And I think I am excited to be part of this wave of what is going on in technology and just being part of the conversations like this to equip people and to make people feel like this is not out of your reach. You are able to do this. You are able to level up your business. You're able to do all of the cool things you want to do with technology, one step at a time.
Thank you so much. And I will make sure to place the links to everything you said, your LinkedIn and your organization as well in the description to this conversation. My last question to you is, are you coming to Toronto this summer so that we can hang out?
Absolutely. I'm coming like for the tech week where there's no more collision in Toronto, but I'm just going to look for where there's a bulk of events and just take that week off and then like attend and do all the things. So yes, you're seeing me in
Oh,
June.
fantastic. Let's then make sure to coordinate and have lunch or something and catch up properly. All right, Ruth. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been Azizi Podcast, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.